But probably the number one reason I'm going to use it this year, it provides excellent weed suppression. We get chickweed down here really bad. What's up, Lazy Dog fam? Hope all you are having a fantastic day. It is Friday, November 14th here in South Georgia. And on today's video, we're going to plant a cover crop that I usually don't like to plant. But I'm going to tell you why we're planting it in this situation, some of the advantages and disadvantages of this particular cover crop. But first, let's talk about this one here behind me that's looking really good, and why we're not going to just duplicate what we've got here. So here we've got a nice, lush, cool season cover crop mix. I think we planted this about a month ago. You can see it's completely covered the plot here. Looking really, really good. Got 4 different things in this cocktail that we planted. The main thing you see here is the rapeseed, and it did get burnt back a little bit by those 2 freezes we had earlier this week. Not going to kill it. It will recover. Probably just needs some water because it's been so dry around here. Now we've also got some clover, some hairy vetch, and some winter peas in this mix as well. You can see a little bit of that right there, but the rapeseed tends to grow a lot faster in the beginning. That's why it looks so dominant when we scan over this plot. Now we like to grow this particular combination for several reasons. We get some good nitrogen fixation, get some good soil building, but our chickens over there in the chicken tractor really like this combination as well. But we have to wait for it to establish some before we can put the chickens on here. We want it to get, well established before we let them start grazing it, because we want to be able to let them graze it multiple times or make several rounds on this plot here. If we put them on there too early, they'll kind of just destroy it and it'll be real patchy. If we wait and let it establish real well, it will grow back and they can graze it 2, sometimes 3 times. And after they graze it the first time, start working on this rapeseed pretty good. They really love those greens. That's when we'll see the clover, the hairy vetch, and the peas really start thriving. So there's kind of a succession that takes place here once we put the chickens on here. The rapeseed will grow back just like the other stuff will, but you really don't notice the clover and a lot of the other components until the rapeseed gets mowed down a little bit by the chickens. So the next couple days, I'll probably soak this down really good with an overhead sprinkler, and hopefully in the next few days, it will recover from that kind of rogue first frost we had earlier this week. Once it does, I think it's ready for the chickens to jump on it. So we'll pull our chicken tractor on it, and then we'll move it every single day, bounce around. We don't want them to just completely destroy a patch. We want them to graze it, and then we'll move them off of it. It can recover, and then by the time they work their way back around, it's ready to graze again. So this system behind me here works really well. We've been doing it for several years now. We get really good weed suppression, we get really good soil building, we get nutrient addition with the chickens grazing it, and we don't have to buy any chicken food. But in this plot here, which is nice and clean and ready to plant, we need to do something a little different. So we did have some fall cow peas out here. Those got burnt back by the frost earlier this week. Mowed those down, chopped up all that pea debris, went over this one time with a wheel hoe, and it's pretty much ready to go. But I don't want to use the same strategy that we've got right here behind me over there, because we did it there last year. Now some of these brassicas, like the rapeseed we've got planted behind me here, make an excellent cool season cover crop, but you've got to be a little bit careful planting them in the same spot year after year. You can start to have some fungal issues, club root, white mold. There are a few others that can give you problems if you plant them in the same spot year after year. And that's one of the main reasons we tend not to do this grazing cocktail in the same plot every single year. We've got 5 in-ground plots around here, so we tend to pick a different plot each year to do that. It's more on a 2 or 3 year rotation. Now, in a given year, the chickens may find themselves on every single one of our 5 in-ground plots at some point in time, but this particular mixture with a brassica component, we try not to do that consecutively in the same plot. So I need a cool season cover crop in that empty plot right now for weed suppression, soil building, nutrient scavenging, but I don't need it for grazing. So this is what I'm going to plant there, winter rye, aka cereal rye, something I've told you in the past I'm not a huge fan of, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But first, let's talk about the benefits of this stuff. So winter rye is extremely cold hardy, probably one of the more cold hardy, cool season cover crops you can plant. Never gets cold enough down here to bother winter rye, and you can plant it even north of us and still not have to worry about it getting damaged by the cold. Winter rye also establishes really fast, or gets up and going really fast. With some of these other cool season cover crops we plant, you're really looking at that October window there. But with the winter rye, it's pretty flexible. We can wait around into November if we want. And if you've ever seen winter rye growing, you know it produces a ton of biomass. You're getting a lot of organic matter there when you plant the winter rye. But probably the number one reason I'm going to use it this year, it provides excellent weed suppression. We get chickweed down here really bad in the cooler months. And if I plant a really dense cover crop of winter rye, I won't have to worry about chickweed thriving and reproducing during the cooler months in that plot. So for me personally, the winter rye is going to help out a lot with chickweed. Winter rye also has some allelopathic weed suppression that it provides due to the compounds within the plant there. Not going to go down that rabbit hole on this particular video, but we have talked about that before on previous videos. So there are lots of good reasons to grow winter rye as a cover crop. Now let me tell you about the downsides. So this stuff is really easy to grow, not so easy to stop. So with this particular cocktail behind me here, I can let the chickens graze it a couple times. I can scalp it down, mulch it up with the mower, run over it with a wheel hoe a time or two, and it's usually good to go, pretty well terminated. But the winter rye is a little harder to terminate. It can be terminated via mechanical means using something like a tiller, but you can't just till it once and it be done. Even if you till it a couple times and just leave the plot be, in a few weeks you're going to notice it coming back a little bit. So you've got to cultivate it fairly aggressively to get rid of it. Now there's also the option of crimping, which you'll hear a lot of people talk about. They make it sound a lot easier than it is. To do crimping right, you have to crimp it at just the exact time it needs to be crimped, right when it's flowering. And I've tried it before, but it still always kind of comes back a little bit. I've never been successful with crimping. Some people swear it works for them. So, I'll leave that up for you to try. Now I do know one good way to terminate it without a lot of equipment. It's just not a real fast way, but probably the way we're going to use. So what we'll probably do before it starts going to seed, or around the time when we need to start transitioning that plot to warm season vegetables, we'll mow it down, we'll mulch all that stuff in place there, and we'll probably put a tarp on it for a few weeks. Then we'll pull the tarp back. We'll probably put a nice thick layer of compost on top, put the tarp back on for a few weeks, and that should take care of it. That's going to take a month, maybe even a month and a half, so nothing we can do in a hurry, but if we plan ahead, we can execute that pretty well. Now I can't remember what the exact seeding rate on this stuff here is, but I'm confident I've got more than enough for that 30 by 35 plot. This stuff here is dirt cheap, probably one of the cheapest cool season cover crop seeds out there. So I'm going to go sprinkle this stuff pretty liberally over that plot. I'll show you just how thick we put it out there, and then I'll tell you how we kind of rake it in or smooth it over. Alright, so I used about half that 10-pound bag there on this 30 by 35 plot, probably more than I had to use, but I wanted to get it pretty thick. You can see those seeds down there. Hopefully you can see about how thick we've got it. Keep in mind here, I don't care if this stuff doesn't get very tall because it's so thick or planted so densely. We're mainly going for chickweed suppression here, so I want a nice thick dense mat of vegetation. And these seeds are not hard to germinate. I might could get by just leaving them here on top, watering them in real good, and they might come up. But just to be safe, I'm going to take my landscape rake, just comb over this real quick with the teeth side there, get it incorporated just a little bit. So just a little light smoothing there. Can't even really tell that I did it, but it made me feel better. Just going up and down like you were cutting grass, just barely combing over. And so we'll soak that down pretty good this afternoon, and then probably every afternoon for about an hour or so the next few days. That should get it up and going. And once it gets up and going, it's pretty much maintenance free. And that should really help out with the chickweed in that plot there. I think we've timed it just about right. I haven't noticed the chickweed getting really bad yet in our raised beds and some of our in-ground plots that we're growing veggies in right now. I've noticed a little bit of it, but I know the chickweed rush is coming. Hopefully we get this up and going before it does. So if you've got winter weeds you need to suppress and want a cheap, easy, cool season cover crop, winter rye is a great option. Just make sure you have a termination plan in place, whether it's through mechanical means. You could even use herbicides like the commercial guys around here do if you're comfortable using that, or go in the more long-term method with the tarp like we're doing. Make sure you have a termination plan in place. As long as you do, it's a great option to suppress some of these pesky winter weeds. So I hope you enjoyed the video today. Let me know in the comments below if you use winter rye as a cover crop in your garden. And if you missed the video when we planted this mix behind me here and talked about each component a little bit more and how much to use of each component, you can watch that right here. So check that out, and we'll see you next time right here at Lazy Dog Farm.